Warm-up's done. Time to kick this off.
Get ready for BJ's.
Battle Royale. Gas is closing on your position. a go at these bastards while you're waiting. Give them some choice words or smash their mugs with a well-placed stun. Time for a bit of argy-bargy. Get ready to fight. You're next.
These guys suck. Oh my god.
You win this fight and you return to the front line. But if you lose, you're done here. Sort them out or capture the objective. That one. We're sending you back to base. They hit us hard that time, but we'll settle the score.
Ano mo vitamin? You want ano ka?
No, I'm just holding that. I'm super nauseous.
Ha?
I'm super nauseous.
Do you want me to get you anything?
You are tired of being late.
Yes. So what's next?
A shower. Be back
Deep dish pepperoni pizza. Onion peppers, onions, extra mushrooms.
Grab some target practice while you can. We're deploying soon. Enough practice. Time for the real thing. Battle Royale. Gas is approaching your position. Move to the safe zone.
Mark some gear.
premise, mukayin yung Earth.
Yeah, tumigil daw yung engine nito. So, mess up yung magnetic field ng Earth. So, within a year, mamamatay.
충성충의 정금자.
고객한테 충성. 원래 중이겠지.
나도 변호사거든. 난 대신
여기는 네가 살던 세상이 아니야. 마이 형.
목소리였어 너.
Content.
진짜 자존심이고 신념이고 돈 번 거에 아무것도 없는 거야?
우리 집안에서는 정답이 뭔지 아세요?
What's the plan, my love? Nanto ka na?
Grab some target practice while you can. We're deploying soon. Enough practice. Time for the real thing.
Follow through. Oh, galing ang follow through. Yun yung pinapakita ko sa kanya pag nagsushoot ako ng lolo. Yeah, ang galing oh, follow through. Can I have one?
Battle Royale. You've got gas
David.
closing in fast. Get to the safe zone.
Moxie. Moxie.
own redeployment. Here we go. You can always have a go at these bastards while you're waiting. Give them some choice words or smash their mugs with a well-placed stun. Fight started. You're up next, mate. Get ready. Win here and you return to the front line. You lose, your fight is over. Time to earn your freedom, soldier. You got your ass kicked in that one. We're sending you back to base.
Dad! No!
Check your gear and weapons. Planes are making ready for deployment.
What was that? What'd you do? Huh? What'd you do?
Warm-up's done. Time to kick this off. Battle Royale. You've got gas closing in fast. Get to the safe zone.
Okay, let's go for bounty, please.
All right, lads, let's get it done. Bounty target identified. Slot the bastard.
Oh! I said, don't do that! Stop it! No.
unlock some gear.
Gas is moving. Enemy UAV overhead. Bounty target is up. Let's get it done. Enemy UAV overhead.
Yes. Welcome to the Gulag. If you survive, you earn your freedom. The fight's begun. Get ready to fight. You're next. Win here and you return to the front line. You lose, your fight is over. Time to earn your freedom, soldier. Worse for wear. You're heading back to camp. Fought hard out there. Press the base for defense.
audio interface to your mobile device is a great way to go. But how do you actually get a USB audio interface connected up to a Lightning-based iPad or iPhone? Well, that's what we're going to cover in this video. Now, the first question you may have is which USB audio interfaces are compatible with my iPhone or iPad? Well, the good news is you can use any USB audio interface which is class compliant, and that means it can run without the use of any additional drivers or software because we can't install any drivers on our iPhone or iPad. And most of your modern USB audio interfaces, like the three I have here, are class compliant and will work with your iOS device. And the three interfaces I recommend are these three. We've got the Behringer UM2, which is a great affordable entry-level interface for your mics and your guitars. We've then got the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2, which is pretty much the home recording industry standard these days. That's a great choice. And my favorite is the Steinberg UR12 that we have down here. And you can also get the UR22 Mark II, which has two inputs, but is basically the same thing. So these are what I recommend. They are all class compliant, and there are links to all three of these down in the description if you want to check them out. The next piece of gear you'll need is this, a Lightning to USB adapter. Now, I recommend and use this one, the genuine Apple Lightning to USB 3 adapter. Why? Because it has an additional Lightning port there to power up your iPhone or your iPad while you're using it, and it is just super reliable and dependable. And there's a link again down in the description if you want to pick one of these up. You can use a third party or an aftermarket version. I don't recommend it. Your mileage may vary. You don't want to be in the middle of an epic guitar solo or an amazing vocal and have your recording cut out because your cable fails. So I recommend this one, and once again, link in the description. Now, most of your smaller 2-channel audio interfaces like these ones will come with a USB A to B cable, and you can see here that all of these have the USB B port, which is what we actually plug in to both power up the interface and also to connect and send data from the interface to and from our device. The problem is, though, that our iPad and our iPhone doesn't provide enough power to actually power up these devices. So there's other alternative things that we need, and yes, it is going to require some more gear. So let's jump in and show you what we need. The most effective and reliable way to power up and send data between an interface and our iPhone and iPad is to use something like this, a powered USB hub. This is the Tendac USB 3 powered hub. I've reviewed it in a video that you can see up the hub. I'm going to jump in and show you what we need. It doesn't provide enough power to actually power up these devices. So there's other alternative things that we need, and yes, it is going to require some more gear. So let's jump in and show you what we need. The most effective and reliable way to power up and send data between an interface and our iPhone and iPad is to use something like this, a powered USB hub. This is the Tendac USB 3 powered hub. I've reviewed it in a video that you can see up there and down in the description, and it is a really solid, reliable, powered USB hub. So what we do with this is we plug one end into 5 volts of power, either using a power bank or plugging directly into AC power, and then we can actually connect this up to our Lightning to USB adapter and then plug any USB devices such as our interfaces directly into this, and that will connect everything up and keep everything powered while we're using and while we're recording. The other option we have to power some of our
Eliminate all targets in the AO.
our interfaces is to use a mobile battery like this Romos OM10. And what you can see here is on our Steinberg interfaces, we have this switch here where we can switch between USB power or 5-volt DC power. So we can connect up a mobile battery and actually power this up and then connect the USB directly
Back to base.
into our Lightning to USB cable, and that's going to work. So the reason I love the Steinberg UR12 and the Steinberg UR22 Mark II is that they have that multiple power supply. So you can either use a hub or you can use a mobile battery. And once again, links to all of these products are down in the description. Okay, so we've got our powered hub here plugged into AC power. The other end, our USB end, is going to plug into our Lightning to USB 3 adapter, and then the adapter is going to plug into the Lightning port of our iPhone or iPad, like so. Now, nothing is going to happen just yet because all we've done is basically hooked up these 4 powered ports to our iPad, but the fun starts when we start connecting devices into our hub. So now all we need to do is take our USB A to B cable, plug the USB B end into our Behringer UM2, like so, and plug the other end into one of the ports on our USB hub, always the wrong way around. Now if we turn on the USB port there, take a look at our interface, boom, lights are on, everyone's home. And over here on our iPad, it'll say audio device is connected. Do I want to turn on monitoring? I'm going to say yes to that. And then there we go, it's connected. If we tap down here, we can now select input 1 or input 2. So our microphone jack there and our guitar jack there. So we're good to go, we're set up. All we need to do is connect up our instruments or our microphone and we can start recording just with this setup. Let's plug into our Focusrite Scarlett 2i2 now, just to show you that this is going to also work. So we just find the USB 2 port on there, and then we'll turn the interface around, gives us a little flash. The green USB light is on there. It says we're connected. We turn on monitoring, and once again, we've got our 2 input channels there that we can use to start recording right here on our iPhone or our iPad. And finally, our Steinberg UR12. Now this time we need to make sure the power source is flicked across to USB, and then we're going to plug into our USB 2 port and turn it around. There you go, the light's on there, USB light comes on, and over here we get that same message saying yes, we want to turn on monitoring, and we're good to go. We can start recording using the Steinberg UR12. Let's finish off now by showing you this cool alternative method that we can use with our Steinberg interfaces. So to do this, I'm going to remove the USB hub and bring my power bank back in here and show you how we can be completely mobile with the Steinberg interface. So this time, instead of using a powered USB hub, I can use any USB power bank. So I've got my Romos OM10 here. I'm going to plug that in. Now this time I'm going to flick the power switch over here to the 5-volt DC. And then I'm going to carefully, because I always get these around the wrong way, plug it into my micro USB port there, and there you go. That is now powered up just using this battery. So you can see there, that's a nice little mobile setup if you're on the go, and why I love the Steinberg interfaces. So now all we need to do is grab our USB cable and connect it up. So we're still going to use our USB port here on the back of the Steinberg. So yes, we're going to have 2 different things plugged in to the Steinberg UR12. We're then going to grab the other end here, come over to our iPad, plug that in to our Lightning to USB adapter, and there you go. It's powering up. It's all good to go. We've got that same functionality. Turn on monitoring, and we're good to record on GarageBand, Cubase, Auria, whatever application you want to use to record. So that's a pretty cool way that we can actually power this up. I've got one more thing though that I want to show you, which is something that's kind of double cool that uses both of these together, which we'll finish off with now. So what if you don't own a Steinberg interface, but you still want to have that ultimate portability? Well, we can actually power our USB 3 hub using not AC power, but instead a portable power bank. So yes, because we can send 5 volts of DC power here from our USB ports into the DC 5-volt socket here, we can actually power everything up with just this device. We do, however, need a specific cable that is going to be able to plug into here. Now, luckily for me, my mate Clint put this one together, which is actually made from an old mini USB cable, and he was able to get the right barrel plug that we can actually plug directly into here and then plug the other end into our USB. If you don't have a Clint handy, I'll put a link down below to where you can actually pick up a similar cable and adapter. Now, word of warning here, you are dealing with power, so don't buy a cheap cable. If you don't get the correct one, you can actually do some damage to your gear. So this is maybe not a method for the faint of heart. But what we're going to do is we're going to plug this in to our USB battery like so. And then there you go. It is ready to go and is ready to use. So now all we need to do is plug the USB of this over into our iPad and we should be ready to go. So as we've done previously, we can now connect our other end of our USB into our Lightning to USB adapter on our iPad, and now we're ready to go. We can simply connect up the Behringer directly into one of these powered ports and we should be all good. But let's give it one final test. So moment of truth, we will plug our USB-B end there into the Behringer. We will plug the other end into this powered USB port. We'll spin it around and there you go. The lights are on, everyone's home, we're off to the races. So now you know how to connect your USB audio interfaces to your iPhone or your iPad. And once again, all of this gear, including the audio interfaces that I recommend, are linked down in the description. You can also go to studiolivetoday.com/gear, which is also linked in the description. There's 2 more videos about using USB devices with your iPhone or iPad linked below. You can subscribe to the channel for more by clicking or tapping on the Studio Live Today icon. I'll see you
in this episode, a tour of my live streaming setup. Had a lot of questions about my particular live streaming setup. Now, obviously, there are a variety of ways to do this. Now, if you're a gamer doing live streaming, I would probably recommend you go over to the EposVox channel. He has lots of information specific to gamers, and we'll go ahead and put a link for that down below. Now, in my case, I'm mostly doing kind of question and answer sessions live streamed and sort of more educational oriented things. So it's really mainly me talking, and then I will also sometimes show an overhead camera to demonstrate various product things in my live streams. And also in the context here, I do all of my live streaming to YouTube. You can, of course, also do this to Facebook Live, Twitch, and lots of other platforms. Now, there are a variety of different things you'll need for live streaming in general. Let me just kind of run through the high level and then run you through my particular setup and also talk about alternatives. First of all, of course, you need a camera. You could use a webcam. In my case, we're actually not using a webcam. We are using, and this is where it's over the top, a Canon C200. So it's basically a sort of an ENG/cinema style camera that is way overkill for live streaming. The reason I use it is actually, I didn't buy it for live streaming. I actually bought it for corporate video work. But in light of the fact that there isn't a lot of corporate video work at the moment, it actually works pretty nicely as a live stream camera as well because it has an autofocus feature that follows when I move around. So it just works really nicely as this. All you really need is a camera that can either connect to your computer via USB, so that's going to be a webcam, or you need a camera that has an HDMI or SDI output, and then we'll talk about capture cards as well. Now, if you're using a webcam that connects to your computer via USB, you're set as far as camera is concerned. If, on the other hand, you're using an external camera that has an HDMI or SDI output, then you're going to need some sort of capture card. And those come in a variety of different options. I'm actually using something that's a combined switcher and capture card called the Blackmagic ATEM Mini. The nice thing about this one from my point of view, and that really kind of enables the types of live streams that I do, is it allows you to include up to 4 different camera sources or HDMI sources. So I can plug in up to 4 different cameras or other HDMI sources, and that will send all of that as a webcam stream to my computer via USB. Not only that, but it allows me to switch back and forth between them. So I have my talking headshot here. I also have the overhead camera here so I can do product demonstrations, and I also have the ability to switch between 2 others. So sometimes, for example, I bring a guest on to the live stream, and being able to have a second camera set up, or even maybe a 3rd and 4th camera set up. So here, for example, on my AJA UTAP, I only have a single HDMI input, so I'd need one of these for each of my HDMI cameras or input sources. Now, the nice thing about something like the Blackmagic ATEM Mini is that you have physical control. So I have buttons that shows me which camera is currently active, which is really nice. And I have a variety of other features on this as well. I can do picture-in-picture, so if I wanted to have my picture in the lower left-hand corner while I'm doing a screencast, I could do that. If I wanted to have, my guest as the major part of the screen and me just down in the corner or upper right corner, wherever, I could do that. It also has a keyer in here, which means I can do green screen from the switcher itself. And it also has a couple of microphone inputs. So there are a variety of different things I can do here. It has a different set of types of transitions here. So you can see I can do more of a fade transition if I wanted to do that as well. Again, most of the apps will allow you to do that as well, but having a physical hardware solution can make it a little easier as well. So it's not absolutely critical, but in my case, it simplifies matters greatly because now I can have up to 4 different cameras with a single device. Now, finally, you do have to have some sort of streaming app or what is sometimes called an encoding software. And this can take a variety of different inputs. Basically, what this software does is it takes all of the inputs from your computer, all of the webcams, all of the capture cards, all of the audio inputs, and allows you to combine them to create the stream and then send that stream off to the streaming platform, whether that be YouTube, Facebook Live, Twitch, or others. Now, in most cases, it also allows you to capture your computer screen itself. So for those that are gamers, you can capture your gameplay. For those of us that are doing more educational type things, you can actually demonstrate things on your computer as well, which is really handy. Now, there are a whole ton of different options here. I'm going to cover just a few of them just in the interest of time, but here are some things to consider. The first one is OBS. OBS is probably the most popular. It's available for Mac, PC, and Linux, and it is both free and open source, so there's no cost to using it. From my point of view, it's very, very powerful. On the Mac, when I used it a couple of years ago, it was a little bit quirky, but it was very capable, and if you kind of spent some time with it, you could get it to do pretty much anything you needed it to do. There's also kind of an offshoot of that called Streamlabs OBS, which is specifically made for streaming. There are both free and paid versions of this. You might try that one as well. There is a free trial, so you can go ahead and try it out and see if that works better for you. Definitely worth considering as well. Again, PC and Mac available. The one that I typically use actually is Ecamm Live, and Ecamm Live is a Mac-only app. It is on a subscription model, and the reason I use it are a few things. Number one, it is very simple to use, and number two, it also has some features that are really nice. You can generally get these features on some of the other platforms as well if you're willing to do plugins and things of that nature, but one of the main features I really like is that I am able to take the YouTube chat, and I can take any individual chat and actually put that on the screen as a lower third, which is really nice. It makes it really easy to engage with the audience, to answer questions, and to do what really works well on live streams, and that is connecting with your audience. There is also vMix. I'm not nearly as familiar with that. I know it's a very popular option, especially on the Windows platform. Worth checking out if you are on Windows. And there are lots of others as well. Now, there are some other things that we haven't talked about yet, and that is, first of all, lighting. In this particular case, I'm using the D&O 180W, which is an LED panel light with a softbox on it, and it's just up above my computer here, facing down. This lights both me, and it also lights the product demonstration area down here on my desk. So a single light, and that lights everything there. Then in the background, I have a little salt lamp over here. And I also have some small LED lights. These are the Aputure MCs, and they're actually RGB lights, so I can put a little splash of color up on the background to create some depth and separation of me from the background. So that's what I do in terms of lighting, just to kind of keep it pretty straightforward, but also to make it reasonably interesting from a visual standpoint. Now, if you are using a webcam, one of the things I found with a webcam, and you'll actually notice if I switch over to a webcam here, lighting with a webcam is quite different than if you're lighting with a proper external dedicated camera. What I've found generally with webcams, it's best to bring up the overall ambient lighting level in your room. That's how it seems to do it best in terms of exposing for a webcam. Now, some of the higher end webcams will be different. You actually can use dedicated video lighting, but on a lot of the other webcams, I find that if you do have additional lighting, it's best to just kind of aim it at the ceiling if you have a light colored ceiling and just bring up the overall ambient level. The webcams are able to expose to that a lot better. So for the longest time, what I did is I would just shoot a video light up at the ceiling to bring just this massive wash of light down into the room and just bring the light levels up well enough so that the webcam could expose for it correctly. Now, where do you start? I would actually recommend that you start one piece at a time because live streams are hard. It is a lot going on, especially if you're directing it at the same time that you're in it and featured in it. So for me, I would actually try to work on all of this technology one piece at a time. My first recommendation would be to get your sound worked out. Do something to improve your sound quality first. And once you've got that dialed in, then I would look at new cameras potentially, switchers, lighting, and things of that nature. So hope that was helpful for you. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave those down below. And if you've not already subscribed, make sure you do that. And we'll be sure to get you more great videos on how to improve your lighting and sound for video.